All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. We have a pretty awesome show today. Some awesome new announcements around Outpost Rush. Uh, right off the break, I want to thank people for the follows, for the subs, for the Patreon supporters, the whole works. Uh, Literally love that we get to hear from you guys all the time. We do have a Discord that we hang out in after the show. We're normally in there pretty much every day, all day. Um, there's an echo. Is it fixed now? Okay, I think I fixed it. I got a problem that occasionally it picks up the other microphone. So there we go. Awesome. All right. They can't hear McLeod though. That's that's fitting. Um,
Aha.
um. Okay, try talking now, McLeod. 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 Okay, now they should hear you. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I can hear you. Yeah, yeah,
it
all good.
wouldn't be one of our shows if we didn't fuck up the sound at some point. Like, um,
You know what it is. You know what it is. Like it would have been solved a lot faster if there wasn't actually quite a delay on Twitch right now for some reason. It's kind of weird.
is there? How long is the delay?
There's it's like a good 15, 20 seconds.
Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy long.
Well, that's a new one. So, anyways, today we had a couple of large announcements. We also had an announcement that happened in the last couple of days that was a little bit of a surprise, and is more of a surprise um, for kind of our kind of the background of New World. And I'm gonna actually start with that one. Uh, so, and of course it loads up on the wrong screen. Uh, Earlier this week, Amazon announced that it's shifting Lumberyard to become an open source 3D game engine supported by more than 20 companies already. And this is actually a really big deal.
It's actually shifting the name as well. It's not going to be called Lumberyard anymore. It's
Yeah,
actually going to be called Open 3D Engine,
yeah,
just to confuse you a little bit more.
yes. So this is really interesting because it's really rare to see this actually happen. So obviously, Amazon has put forward a lot of money in developing the Lumberyard engine. It's originally based on a couple of other engines, mostly on the Cry engine, but it has a lot of work done into it. Kind of the cool thing here, and the rare part about this, is normally you work with one of these larger engines, like the Cry engine or the Unreal engine, or any of the other major engines that are out there. But you never get access to the source code. So you can't really change it to be what you need it to be. Your program kind of has to fit neatly inside it. And if you run into the wall of, hey, this is the limitation of the engine, then you're just kind of shafted. Like, that's kind of your limit. Which is really unfortunate because, what it limits you as a creator, as a game developer, to have those hard limits of that engine. So basically, what they've done is they said, well, we've put a lot of work into this, but instead of continuing to do all of the work, let's open source this, give it out free to everyone, which they'd been doing anyways, but they haven't been giving out the source code. Now they're giving out the source code to everybody and going, if you want to make changes to it, super. Be willing to share with the rest of the class if you want, but keep the parts you want, get rid of the parts you don't. If you run into limits, code your way out of it. Like, this is huge because this means a lot of people are going to come together around one engine, and they're going to say, "Hey, here's how we built this better. Here's how we did this," and they're going to kind of condense those code bases from all kinds of different sources, and this is likely to become probably one of the more developed engines out there, especially with the backing that it's already received.
It was kind of like put together. It was based around a sort of a version of CryEngine initially as well. Muller and chat's kind of saying that the source code was public. I mean, I don't know whether it was public by by accident or deliberate. I don't know, but like I kind of feel like if it was already out there deliberately, then there wouldn't be any point to actually doing this whatsoever. So I kind of feel like maybe it was out there just out of in some kind of accidental way or some kind of malicious way, sort of thing. I don't know. Like I lose track of the amount of things that get like hacked and get broken into, and sort of ransoms and stuff like that these days. So but the other kind of thing is, I do kind of feel that Amazon has. I don't know whether they've been forced to do this or whether they feel like it's prudent to do it now, because of the competition that they have with Unreal Engine 5. Because Unreal Engine 5 has kind of released to some degree, and it is fairly spectacular. And I feel like if Amazon want to stay in the sort of game engine or just sort of like 3D engine sort of scene, they need to basically they need to come up with something. So
if you send me the link, I'll post it. The bot is unfortunately a little overprotective.
It's overprotective, just not out of spite.
Yeah, that's a good link to have here. This is a post in the GitHub in chat here. Mala had it here, so
okay, cool.
Simply put, that's the source code. That's that's Lumberyard.
But I guess in a sense they're formalizing this maybe with this particular kind of announcement, saying like, we even though the source code may be out there, this is now like a formal declaration basically saying like, if you want to tweak it, if you want to create things with it, you want to pull it apart, inject your own thing, put it back together again, like, you have free license to do that as much as you want, literally as much as you want.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good idea. I think it might require a name change and a few other things in order to kind of publicly change the direction of kind of the way they've been doing things. And if anybody wants it, there's the actual Open 3D source code as well. So fundamentally, if you want to go play with the Lumberyard engine, you've always been able to do it, but now it's even more accessible than it has been, and we're going to start seeing support from more than just the Lumberyard studio. You're going to start seeing support from a whole lot of other places. There's already a number of studios and a number of graphics companies that are signing on to this as a project and really working on it.
Just a thing, because even though you have like big hitters in the sort of like a game engine kind of scene, such as Unreal Engine 5, right? Epic Games and that kind of thing. Even though you have those sorts of things, those engines are free, for personal use to sort of to create stuff with. But if you actually start creating like marketable products, commercial products with it, like that's when Epic Games starts taking like somewhat significant cuts to you using that engine to base whatever project, whatever commercial venture you have with this, with the engine, right? the difference here is because it's open source, because it's been sort of given an open source nature with the Open 3D engine that used to be Lumberyard. This is basically a free license to say use it, even create, do commercial products with it. Like we won't owe us a cent.
Exactly. So I think this is going to be big. It's kind of a large change of direction, at least in terms of the licensing front. But I think that this is important news when it comes to Amazon games, and it might show kind of direction they might go in the future. So I think that I personally I thought this was worth discussing. So from here, let's turn around and look at New World. I'm going to start with the alpha. At the end of the alpha, this was posted. For those that don't know, the alpha officially ended last night at midnight Pacific time. This tweet was posted and posthumously removed because, NDA on themselves, which is
just
comical.
kind of hilarious.
That said, because it was out for some amount of time, and because, comically speaking, I catch everything, we have all of the images in larger format.
There's someone at AGS. I don't know whether AGS watches this, but like, if someone from AGS is watching the VOD backwards, they're like, oh damn it.
Yeah. So you can see some some bosses in these that that you might not have seen before.
Yeah.
You can see some of the way the world works and what gear people were using.
That's an interesting.
That's an interesting one right there.
We haven't seen. I don't think we've seen any pictures of that one before.
Mm-hmm. And of course, a nice little crowd picture of.
You got to get the team
people.
photo.
Yeah.
You got to get the team photo.
So
you clearly the goalie is the guy right at the far left hand side. He's wearing a completely different outfit to the rest of them.
So now this, of course, means that we are now headed towards the closed beta, which in order to get into the closed beta, you have to pre-order the game or be randomly selected for it, which is kind of an interesting approach for them. And then there's going to be a little bit of time between the beta and the launch of the game. I personally think they might extend the beta. That's my best guess. But at the same time, if they need the time to do the coding, they need the time to do the coding. Like if they got to go heads down and do it, then it wouldn't surprise me if they did that either. But that means July 20th, we will be streaming the game live as well, because there is no NDA coverage on the beta. So anybody can stream it, anybody can play it. As long as you pre-order it, you're in for sure. If you order on Amazon, you get a Steam key, and you use that Steam key to download it on Steam. And if you ordered it on Steam, it'll automatically show up in your library. We don't know if there's going to be preloading. Odds are there probably will. And yeah.
So just so you know, that preloading, because I know that there's probably going to be people out there who are wanting to do something very similar to what A's did in a preview. If you attempt to try and dissect the files before the closed beta starts, and try and claim that because it's the closed beta client that you're free to sort of post that kind of stuff without NDA, that's not the case. Like the NDA basically breaks on that day that the closed beta starts. So just so you know,
breaks with the launch. So or with the actual beta. That said,
Mhm.
it also is for beta content, which means people who were naughty and recorded things in the alpha, you can't post alpha content unless you have express permission from AGS. There was a big distinction on that. You know, there's some people who I'm sure have thought, oh, you know, I got all this footage. Like, that's not how that works. So, with that, the other big news today, rather unexpected, we got 2 videos. IGN got an exclusive, which was kind of surprising, for Outpost Rush. But first, before we watch their review of it, I want us to watch the actual official Outpost Rush 101, because I think this is actually really good.
We're bringing the battle to a tournament in an all-new PvPvE mode, Outpost Rush. Jump in solo, or with up to 5 of your friends in a coordinated 20 versus 20 battle. Teams must coordinate and balance their time upgrading outposts, gathering resources, capturing objectives, and defeating enemies. When your team spawns into a match, you'll want to push forward and capture outposts to bring you closer to victory. Outposts can be upgraded, defended, and used as forward operating bases to drive the enemy back. Gather resources to support your team and keep your outposts well protected. Each outpost has features that your team can use to help you in battle. Upgrade your outpost's gate to keep the enemy team at bay. Spend resources to buy protection wards, creating a respawn point at your outpost. Build repeater turrets and vats of burning oil to rain fire down on the other team and repel their attacks. Create a command post to inspire your team, making them stronger and more resilient. But defeating the enemy isn't the only way to win. Outpost Rush has
really
plenty
important.
of other objectives too. Build cannons and give your team the edge in an outpost siege. Summoning circles give players a chance to summon some of Eternum's most fearsome creatures to fight on their side. Collect Azoth Essence to make an offering to the corrupted portal. If your team sacrifices enough essence, you'll be rewarded with a powerful advantage. Throughout the match, Baroness Hane appears. If your team can manage to defeat her, they'll be granted an immensely powerful buff that can help turn the tide of battle. Defeating the Baroness also freezes the other team's score, giving you a chance to catch up if you're behind, or put the final nail in the other team's coffin. There are so many ways to win an Outpost Rush. Collect resources for your team. Lay siege to enemy outposts and capture map objectives. Victory means reward in gold and treasure. The bigger the victory, the bigger the reward. There's so much to discover in New World, and Outpost Rush is only the beginning. We'll see you in a tournament.
So, this is big, and I'm going to have this playing in
yeah.
the background here. This is big. We've heard about Outpost Rush in terms of the patch releases and some of the patch note type stuff, but we never really got a chance to see it until now. Outpost Rush is fundamentally an end game activity. I believe the patch notes stated that you have to be level 60 to participate. So there's a lot of stuff you got to do before you can get to do this. What's that?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah.
But
So that said, this is kind of a big one. This is why a lot of people, when they started saying like, hey, like, they started talking about like the rested XP boosters and stuff like that, and getting people to the end game. This is part of what they were talking about. Getting people to the end game, because there's a lot of really good content there, and it's because it's balanced for the end game when it comes to Outpost Rush. I think that's healthy, and that's why a lot of people were pretty quiet about it. I do hope that they do some kind of mid-game, kind of battlefield type thing as well. But there is a lot of other PvP opportunities that they've added to the game as well, in terms of like the forts, PvP sieges, which are the 50v50 for settlements. One of the complaints was always that, the 50v50 doesn't really happen all that often. And you might not get picked for it very often. So, because of that, they needed a good way. I appreciate the follows, guys.
Nice.
I really do appreciate them. Because of the way that they're because of the way that they've released this kind of content, Outpost Rush is basically the fundamental ability to have PvP all of the time. Because if you queue up, it's basically transplanting you and 39 other people, 40 people total, off to this area where PvP is on all the time. So for the people that were asking for an area on the map that has PvP on 100% of the time, and has specific rewards that are exclusive to that content, this is it. Welcome to Outpost Rush. Fundamentally speaking, it is your PvP all the time with exclusive rewards for doing it. There are skins, or there are, not skins, but there are cosmetics and gear in here that are exclusive to Outpost Rush. Just as there are cosmetics that are exclusive to specific expeditions and other content as well. Basically, once you get to the end game, you're waiting for sieges. If you don't get picked, you're playing Outpost Rush, or you're doing high-end expeditions, or you're doing elite points of interest, or you're doing I'm missing one, invasions. So there's a lot of end game content, but what this does is this enables you to have a massive amount of content with large PvP battles that are similar to the fort battles or the PvP sieges, but on a slightly smaller scale, being 20v20, but also being consistent. So you can do this all day, every day, as long as there is 40 people on the server queued up to do it.
The interesting thing is, like, that I'm kind of like looking at this from a sort of more broader sort of sense. Like, this can very much sort of play its way into becoming New World's sort of like ranked. That can be like a ranked kind of PvP sort of scene, as well as an esports scene, essentially. Eventually, I'm wondering whether, and I don't know whether Amazon Games are kind of looking into this, or whether it's designed into this, or whether they may think about like adding this sort of aspect to it. But like, considering, like, I have to wonder where it actually takes place. Like, when you actually sort of play the Outpost Rush, whether it's played on the map somewhere that you're, of the server that you're in, or whether it's somewhat instanced in the same way that like dungeons are. I
believe that it's pseudo instance, but there is a specific spot on the map that it does that instancing.
because my thought process of this was I wonder whether you could potentially have this sort of outpost rush be sort of like something that intermingles between all servers of a particular location, or you know, of a particular sort of ping sort of range, if you know what I mean. And that way
In
you can
terms
have
of, in
them
terms of running
uh,
on the same cluster, that would be really interesting.
yeah,
If
yeah.
they if
So
they had
you
that
could
capability, that would be
play.
really good.
Yeah, so you could almost play into inter server kind of or inter world. I think this is how AGS kind of term it, right? You have worlds that are played on the same sort of, you know, geographical server as such, but you could have basically like, you know, outpost rush teams playing from different worlds, but maybe still on the same sort of East Coast or West Coast or Central kind of server, that sort of thing.
I think that
That
would
would
be a good way
increase
of ensuring that there were more people capable of joining in on that.
Yeah, exactly.
And theoretically, it's possible because how the servers are set up. Fundamentally, you have, you know, the specific server blade that it's run on in the rack.
Yeah.
Within that server, it's running a cluster of smaller servers. So for those that are familiar with the preview, you would log in, you would select US East, which would select a server rack somewhere here on the East Coast of the US. It would then ask you, you know, there would be names of the servers. So like Haven was a popular server in the preview. But it would also have like Cascade Lake. Well, okay, what was Cascade Lake? Cascade Lake was the specific server blade that was running on. So you could not create the same username within that cluster because it was utilizing the same resources.
Yeah.
And you would mess up their database altogether for that blade.
Because I'm just thinking like the way that the reason why I was sort of considering or sort of like thinking about this was, you know, if you're there and you want to play Outpost Rush, but like say for example you started on a you know medium to medium low pop server, right? Because you didn't want to get overwhelmed by like huge amounts of people sort of thing, and you kind of you still wanted that sort of like, you know, out in the wilderness, you know, away from, you know, like miles from anybody sort of experience. You know, if you wanted to play Outpost Rush and there wasn't exactly that many people on your server, your specific world, right? And if it's just like limited to people on your particular world, like that would kind of prevent you from being able to play Outpost Rush almost at all, depending on you know, because there wouldn't exactly be that many people potentially sort of queuing up for this sort of stuff. But if it was, you know, broadened out to being a world, you know, not just a world-based thing, but like a you know, server blade cluster kind of thing, then that would be really cool.
Oh, yeah. So, aside from this, there's some other important stuff to note.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool kind of things.
So this was
with
kind
this
of
and with the other one, right?
Yeah, this was kind of the devs' way of presenting this. Some of it is you know, from the perspective of people playing. Some of it is kind of these fancy shots. But the other thing that came out today is they released this with IGN of all places. And we're actually going to listen to this as well. This is about 6 minutes.
Just quickly before you started off,
Yeah.
maybe they felt a little bit bad with IGN not being able to get all the way to the end of the the end of the expeditions. They were like, oh, you know, we'll treat them to this.
Now, there's a few things that I'm going to pause the video as we go through this one, mainly because this is technically IGN's content. In order to bypass some copyright and IP issues, we do actually have to have commentary around it. And there's a lot of mechanics here that nobody has seen before this video.
Yeah.
And are really important both in Outpost Rush and pre-Outpost Rush. So this is stupid important. And I want to make sure to point these out. So let's dive into IGN's coverage. You'll notice that this is also with David Verfarelli. He's the creative director, formerly was in charge of the combat systems, but he's moved to be the creative director. Great guy, does a really good job of explaining a lot of this stuff. So yeah, let's start.
PvP isn't the first thing that comes to mind when I'm looking for my next big MMORPG. A few games, namely World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2, or even the faction versus faction Space Warfare MMOFPS PlanetSide 2, all had fantastic and well thought out PvP in the bag. But those games are few and far between. Amazon's New World, on the other hand, may have something up its sleeve for PvP players between faction-based territories, World PvP, and its marquee feature, the 20 versus 20 player PvPvE mode, Outpost Rush. Speaking of the latter, I recently got the opportunity to play a round of Outpost Rush on its premiere map, Nothanos Island, with Amazon Games creative director David Verfarelli, who personally walked me through many of Outpost Rush's systems and the layout of the map itself.
His eyes too. That's funny to me. I would like to note that this sounds very hollow. I can do nothing about their recording quality on this video because this is their audio. I can do physically nothing about that. It will sound hollow. It will sound like he's recording this in a tin can, and that is likely because IGN doesn't pay for microphones. So he's probably recording this on a laptop mic. There are a couple of times in this video as well that you will see some stuttering. He will soon explain that he has a very poor connection to the server. He's probably playing again on his laptop, recording at the same time, which also explains some of the frame rate problems.
Over Wi-Fi.
Over Wi-Fi, yeah. So, bold strategy, just putting it out there. Wouldn't be the way I would go, but, to each their own. Let's continue.
It's a timed mode where the objective is to get to 1,000 points first. You get points by controlling the forts in the middle, or by getting PvP kills.
My overall experience was positive.
Okay, so 1,000 points. Anybody that's ever played Domination in a first-person shooter, this is fundamentally the same game, just with a bunch of added tricks and stuff aside from that. Basically, what you're doing is you are capturing up to 3 bases. If you want to completely dominate the enemy team, you capture all 3 bases, hold 3 bases, you gain all of the points while your enemy gains nothing. That said, you'll gain 2 points if you own 2 bases, 1 point if you own 1 base. If they own 2, they get 2, the whole works, and it slowly builds up. First team to 1,000 points wins. Pretty simple logic. That said, some people will have a challenge with that. Some people don't like to play objectives, and is what it is.
New World's positional combat system, which
It's
focuses on
also
action
one of these,
rather than strategy,
sort of
felt
modes
just as natural when engaging in
that a lot of
large-scale
people know
battles
very,
against
very
other
well,
players
so
as it did when I was going up against a boss
well
in
understood.
PvE mode. And even despite having a spotty connection to the game server, I found that things went pretty smoothly. I experienced
Spotty
no crashes,
connection.
lagouts, or serious bugs that jarred me away from Outpost Rush's fast-paced skirmishes, beyond some rubber banding. That said, if you can't find 39 other people to play with,
So, he's about to explain. If you can't find 39 other people to play with, you sit and wait in queue. But, you'll notice, at the top right corner of the screen, he is queued up, but still able to move around the world, still able to go do whatever he wants to do. And then when it selects you, hey, you're in, the match is about to start, it pulls you. Just like just like an expedition, if you join and you're in the area, it pulls you into the expedition. You do not have to stay in the outpost. Like, you don't have to just chill here waiting with everybody. You can go do other things. Can lead to some comical scenarios. I'm not going to go into that more
you'll
than
find
more
yourself
than
spending
this.
plenty of
I
time
can just,
waiting in
I
the
can
queue
just,
menu
I can
before
just
you
imagine
can...
like sort of a group sort of waiting for an Outpost Rush. Like say sort of 5 or 10 of them, kind of like sitting there, kind of going, let's queue for Outpost Rush. Oh, it doesn't really work. It isn't really kind of going like, well, we'll just wait and then go, and then group up with another bunch of people and then go and do some sort of say an expedition, for example. be 3/4 of the way through an expedition, and then suddenly like 2/3 of the group just disappears or something.
Or worse, your healer leaves.
Yeah.
Oh, I got selected. See ya.
Bye.
It's similar to like actually wars would be the best way to explain it. Where like if you had signed up for a war, it does if you sign up for a war, it doesn't have this thing in the top corner. But like you could be off in the world doing some random thing, and the war starts, and you get selected, and it'll just send you a thing that's like, "Yo, you got selected. Do you accept this or not?" And wherever you are, it'll just pluck you.
That said, that you do have to confirm it though.
Yes,
So,
you do have to hit accept. If you hit accept, you accept the consequences of hitting accept.
and I imagine the outpost rush is going to be the same sort of thing. Like it's not just going to pluck you. When you when outpost rush is able to sort of run, like it'll basically ask you, do you accept this?
I hope you can't queue for an expedition since you're already in queue.
I don't think you queue for an expedition.
I don't think you can queue for both at the same time. So you also can't. I can't talk about expeditions that way. Well, no, I can because we got to do an expedition live. Ha! Yeah. So we can talk about that. So the way expedition queuing works is that your group is pulled in to the event itself. For Outpost Rush, you can also queue up, but you have to queue up as a group. If you have a group of people, otherwise it'll break your group. So you get an option when you hit queue that you can queue up as an individual, you can queue up as all the way up to a group of 5. You don't have to have a full group of 5, but you have you know what I mean.
From 1 to 5. Essentially.
With that, let's keep watching.
And reach Nothingnose Island. I got stuck in the 30-minute queue before the demo session could begin, so
I'm going to let him explain this short little section here about his 30-minute queue. We'll get back to that.
I spent that extra time decking out my Ice Gauntlet and bow skills in order to make myself a master in Area of Effect spell.
I.e., he got a level 60 character that had no skills assigned, and they gave him a half an hour to get everything set up so that hopefully he wouldn't suck.
And
that's the translation.
In keeping
of that.
with my attempts to balance my health and damage
not digging on him,
I
but
loaded
like,
up on the Constitution, Intelligence, and
To be
Dexterity
fair,
stats.
if you were fresh into this game and you had no idea what you were doing, you were given half an hour to go from 0 to hero on a level 60 character, like 30 minutes is probably going to be quite a short period of time to be able to do that and understand what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, you gotta pick your 2 weapons, then pick, okay, what do I really want to do with those 2 weapons, and then somebody asked a question about mount. Oh, are they going to add mounts into the game? They have not officially said they're going to add mounts into the game yet. Their current stance is not yet, but it's something we will hopefully do later on. They want to make sure that they have a more fully fleshed out system for it, and they also want the map to be a little bit bigger. So I hope that more clarifies that as well. So back to the video.
Using Pylon, that's a great move, especially in PvE. Like when
that's developer speak for Pylon's not a great move to use in PvP, but
you get to a nice POI.
Good
you
attempt.
Slap that thing down and bring people to it.
To my satisfaction, balancing the Ice Gauntlet and the bow came in handy a ton once the fighting started, and swapping weapons when specific circumstances arose also felt totally natural. Switching weapons mid-combat is as slick here as it is in Guild Wars 2 or Elder Scrolls Online. Nothingnose Island itself is decently sized.
Alright, so we're going to pause here. Obviously, like, he's talking about switching weapons and stuff like that, but realistically, when it comes to like how a game feels, somebody can tell you how it feels, but until you get your hands on it and you're actually, hey, this is how it feels, you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, I don't understand, I don't know what it means. When anybody tells you it feels like this, just get your hands on it, play with it, it's fine. This is the map. This is the important part.
From a feel standpoint, like if you ever thought that things like say for example Atlas, if you ever thought those games felt a little bit kind of bouncy, a little bit kind of like not quite there, like New World doesn't feel like that. New World feels a lot more solid than that.
Yes. It's not tab target. Like switching weapons feel like it takes the appropriate amount of time that if you were going to hang a staff on your back and pull out a bow, that like it takes the right amount of time to make it feel right.
Yeah.
You know,
if you tried to do it at that speed in real life, it wouldn't work. Like,
yeah.
But it's long enough for you to feel like that's a good prerequisite amount of time.
Mm-hmm. You know,
but the map. So this is an important thing, especially when it comes to like a domination gameplay or game mode, right? Is how the map is.
Hey, thanks for the bits.
How the map's put together and all that kind of stuff. Oh, nice. Cheers, dude.
Much appreciated.
As you can kind of see, there's an A, there's a B, and we can't really see a C, but I think the C is probably
he's on C
like
right
on
now.
that line on C there, right?
Yep.
So those, I imagine, are likely going to be the outposts that you are rushing in Outpost Rush.
Mm-hmm. Now you can kind of see how things are symmetrical on here. So you've got a site down here. We'll go back to the other video to explain exactly what this is. And you've got a site over here with a timer on it. This one they explained is the
there's some icons regarding that. Like it appears that might actually be the ice.
Yes. This is the one that if you kill this one, the Baroness. If you kill this one, basically what happens is you freeze the other team's score. So this could give you the time to capture some stuff if they're ahead of you and you need to kind of catch up.
So it depends on how well that is balanced, how long that takes, and how often that happens. But I really like that as a game mode, and I'll tell you why. Right, a lot of the time when it comes to sort of a domination sort of thing, you get the situation where you can go with a really heavily defensive stance, and if you capture 2 of the bases of the 3 and you hunker down, you just create this like super defensive kind of barricade to just stop people from getting in, right? Essentially that could end up basically saying that is the meta of playing Outpost Rush. You just basically go heavy defense, you rush the A and you rush the first 2, you rush B, and then you rush the central one, and you grab the close one, as a secondary, and then just like defense. If this mechanic that of freezing the score is set correctly, then what that means is if you just do that, if you go with that particular meta, say for example for playing Outpost Rush, you go with that particular meta of defense and taking B, straight away, you might lose. You could, in actual fact, if it's played rightly, you should lose, because the idea I think in this is a good mix of both offensive and defensive play.
Yes. So something to note here as well. So you can see the map is almost perfectly symmetrical, given some obvious differences for making the actual map appear different in different areas. But you've got a mine on each side, you've got a wolf den on each side, you've got some sort of item here that we don't know really what it is, from the icon at least. You've got your 3 bases across, your 2 special zones, one on either side, and then you've got what are probably the main base or main spawn for each side. Just from general map design, you should be able to identify what that is. The odd thing is you've got kind of this large area back here as well, so I don't know what that's about, but that'll be potentially worth exploring. But I figured we would pause on this because this is the first time that we've seen the Outpost Rush map, and it's a good opportunity to say, hey, here's where things are. Here's why they're set up the way they are. Focusing on defense alone, you could potentially fall behind because even with 2 bases, you could potentially fall behind because your score keeps freezing because you're only focusing on defense and you're not capturing the Baroness.
So I'm wondering if there's only going to be one map or whether they're going to create multiple maps. I don't want to sort of harp on about having multiple maps kind of thing, but multiple maps is always good to sort of have a kind of a variety in terms of the gameplay and gameplay setting.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say though that if you create a decent map, like a really, really decent map, it doesn't matter really how many maps you have. Like if you have if you spend a good deal of time creating a decent, very well-rounded, very sort of balanced map from both teams' perspective, that can have a lot of replayability and a lot of enjoyment in playing it, like without having to be like, oh look, we've got 26 maps or 30 maps or whatever. Like if 29 of those 30 maps suck, like, and are massively have terrible balance, terrible positioning, and terrible kind of gameplay elements, then it doesn't matter whether you have 30 maps with 29 of them suck, right?
Yeah.
People will just want to play that one map that doesn't suck.
Mm-hmm.
From what it looks like, this map looks like it will be pretty good. I hope it is, and I hope they definitely I hope AGS definitely sort of concentrate on creating maps with good gameplay movement and good balance. More
Technically,
so than just
League has
more
3 maps.
Oh.
League.
Just
putting that out. Just complete semantics. I know that I'm being a dick by pointing that out because everybody plays 5v5s, but they do have a 3v3 and a ARAM map. But that's I'll concede the point.
No,
they really have only had the one map, and it has worked out for them. So you can survive obviously a very long time on one map. And of course, with this being level 60 content, this is fundamentally something that you've got to play to the end to get to. You've got to get to that max level to participate in. So this isn't everybody playing it up front. There's going to be a time where, especially as there's not a lot of level 60s, there's going to be some people that heavy grind and get into it early. But at the same time, there's not going to be enough people that get to level 60 to play this consistently early.
Yeah.
That said, a few weeks later, as more people on the server start hitting that level 60, you're going to start seeing more and more rounds of Outpost Rush, and it's going to pick up. This is why they've talked about, and I'm going to hit on this again, this is also why they've talked about the XP booster, the rested XP booster. Because this is one of those key gameplay things that getting enough people to consistently play this makes for a better experience for everyone. So I know that there's controversy around the whole XP boosters and stuff like that, and we've talked to no end about how a raw XP booster would be bad. But the rested XP booster, I firmly believe is actually a pretty elegant way of doing it because it's just much better of an idea. And we're obviously against pay to win and all that. I don't want to go into that on this show, but So we've still got more of this video to go. So let's see this.
But not too large. There are around 3.
Oh, he went over it.
Nothanos Island itself is decently sized, but not too large.
Nothanos Island Dryad Grove. Concentrated source of infused wood. This grove is infused with trees and is guarded by deadly dryads. Okay, so you got one of those on either side. There we go. I I do want to say, like, thank you guys for the crazy amount of follows and the bits and everything so far. Like, one, like, part of me is really happy because, like, I get to see the custom, what are they called? Custom alerts that we had made. And we don't get to see those all that often. So, like, it's making my day, guys. It's making my day.
There are around 3 different bases to capture, at least 1 major boss fight, and a bunch of different smaller locations, like the mines or the wolf den, where you can go hunt and gather resources. The topography of the map is coated with thick jungles and ruins that are perfect to stage traps and ambushes against other players from, inversely making it feel like danger could be lurking around any corner.
The only way to get Azoth is by killing the AI enemies in the farms, and then you can use that to sort of bolster your war efforts.
During the short stretches between major PvP fights, we found ourselves chopping down Azoth-infused trees and slaying monsters in order to buy special items at the shops located inside of our captured fortresses.
So you see the storage shed over here. Just drop your resources in there.
Had I saved up a little bit more and died just a smidge less...
Yeah. It's IGN. He never was going to get it anyways.
I could have purchased the summoning token that would have allowed me to bring a powerful monster onto my team's side, like the Summon Brute.
Some of the objectives around the map. So we saw Baroness Hane. The other one is the Corrupted Portal. And you saw that the Brute, the sort of like ogre-y, demonid looking thing that was spawned. When you beat that objective and you deposit Azoth there, you get a summoning stone that allows you to summon one of those. So that's another one of the big objectives.
I saw a few such summoned enemies come into play from the enemy team's side, yet actually fighting these beefy summoned foes was a huge nuisance. I can't speak to how balanced the system ultimately is in its current state, given that summoning tokens themselves are awfully expensive, but it's clear that...
Okay, realistically, he just sucked and couldn't afford it. But... that said, you take the summoning token that you earn from that, bring it here, you get one of these massive brutes. They're royal pain to kill, and fundamentally they're a pretty solid buff for being able to achieve that that objective. So it's kind of like if you're falling behind, you focus on the Baroness, and if you're trying to like seriously get aggressive, you focus on your corrupted portal so that you can get what you need there.
So I like the fact that you can upgrade your like defensive sort of posture and stuff like that using various different things, as well as the summoning stones and stuff like that for offensive stuff.
Yes.
I think they say have we gotten to the sort of like building turrets and that kind of stuff? Yeah, or was that a little bit further?
They haven't really mentioned it yet. Although they mentioned it in the other video.
Oh, it was in the other video. So I like the fact that like that you can that sort of the sort of gathering of resources isn't just defensive only. Like you can gather resources and stuff like that, to build offensive kind of sort of batteries and stuff like that in order to take down.
There are set locations for those to be set, though. So, like, it's not like the war mechanic where they're only in where you can place them anywhere. In Outpost Rush, they do have a set location in which you can build the offensive ones. That's by design, because otherwise it'd be seriously broken.
Benefits to pursuing the PvE elements here, simply because through well-timed excursions, you can save up enough Azoth to...
Okay, the stream was not glitchy there. This guy's recording with a potato. He's recording with a potato, and he's recording with a bad network connection. So, and I'm gonna replay this so you can see the full animation here. I'm gonna mute it for a second here, but you can see the bear is kind of like twitching all over the place, and the animations are kind of incomplete. You can also see all of the people running around, and that they are also kind of fading in and out, and they're like flickering. Their motions are not smooth. This is a recording issue and a frame rate issue, not an animation issue.
Yeah, definitely. The bear is definitely choppy. It's Choppy the bear for sure.
So I'm gonna go back a little bit here, and I'm gonna turn the volume back on.
roll the opposing team, or at least cause them a whole bunch of inconvenience. Baroness Hane is the name of the boss on the right-hand side of the map, but the boss battle itself isn't as interesting as the rat race that ensues between both teams in the Baroness's arena. Conveniently, a timer tracks the Baroness's respawn time and displays the amount of time until she respawns on the upper corner of the screen, meaning that you're likely to fight a large detachment of enemy players if you choose to go after her. But the reward for beating Baroness Hane and stealing those same points away from the opposite team is too great to justify passing up. What makes this fight extra tense is the fact that it's the team which gets the killing blow who receives the lion's share of the rewards.
So, creating objectives that get both sides out of their bases, where one side could commit more or less, but one side can also last hit the Baroness from a distance with ranged weapons, hoping to get the kill without committing a lot of resources, while also going around and trying to take a base in the process. Or committing the lion's share of your force to the objective while potentially sacrificing defensive posture. There's a bunch of different strategy there. I like how that plays out. I think that makes it a valuable objective for both defense and offense to push for.
Yeah. And Ace, I think we need to get a Choppy the Bear emote.
The real meat of Outpost Rush is the fortress capture mechanic.
That would actually be really funny. Like, get now that they're images or they're GIFs. We could easily get one that's like the emote is like raw, like cut footage, like yes, yep. I think we need to find a. Do you think Night Marcher could do that again?
Maybe. If not, we can always Fiverr it, so it's all good.
Yeah. All right. So he's talking about
storming an opposite team's fortress usually results in massive clashes between players, and it's in these clashes where most of the player versus player combat happens. That said, fortresses were pretty small and seemed almost claustrophobic to fight in. And
he's fighting at ground level with ranged weapons. Yes, it's going to feel a little claustrophobic if you don't use the 3D element of gaming.
Still enjoyed getting on top of battlements and raining fire down on my foes with my bow, or taking advantage of the tight-knit quarters of the fortress grounds to insta-freeze large groups of enemies with my ice gauntlet.
And then we briefly saw...
So, on the side here, you can see there's infused wood, infused ore, infused hide. These different things are going to be needed for different builds. Various different, weapons, or, the command hut or the tower are going to need different items. So, for instance, the door is probably going to use wood and ore. It's probably not going to use hide, but other different things that you can build and reinforce might require hide over wood or hide over ore or etc. It's worth gathering all of these things, but if you've built out all of the things that require one of them, it's probably going to mean that you don't really need as much of the rest.
Saw the siege weapons, and those can be really fun. You can build them defensively in the fort when you own them. What's even more neat is sort of the ability to build them to sort of do an offensive siege, like when there's a nice deadlock, building that.
There we go. Now it's talking about the offensive weapons.
Break down the doors and help the battle.
But after about 30 minutes, the match ended, and I was left with a solid impression of what Outpost Rush is all about. And it's targeted at those short 30-minute gaming sessions, where you'll be able to get in and make progress even if you don't have much playtime beyond 30 minutes. Whether it'll hold up over the long run isn't quite clear yet. The only slated map for launch is Nothanos Island. This being the case, I have to wonder how much fun it would be to play this after my 50th or 100th match. Time will tell whether Outpost Rush is a hit. For more on New World, check out our recent preview of Amarine Excavation, and for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.
Or not.
That was harsh, but So the other kind of thing that Amazon could potentially do that doesn't really take that much time, but could potentially produce an interesting kind of results with an interesting feel as well, is changing the weather system, or changing sort of the night and day kind of sort of aspect of sort of playing an episode of or sort of a game or a few games of Outpost Rush. You know,
Oh,
a day game in Outpost Rush might be, you might play it differently than a night game in Outpost Rush, depending on how the level of visibility and that kind of thing. So
oh yeah. Yeah, I think that would add a good
that's
component
also
to
another
it.
thing. And that'll be really easy to do, because like that doesn't require like significant amounts of as far as I know, wouldn't require significant amounts of custom sort of work to, like, say, if you're creating a brand new map, that would take an extremely large amount of development time comparatively to just changing the day setting, or just changing the sort of like the sort of like any kind of weather component.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Add in day night, add in raining or not raining,
Fog, that sort of thing, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there are people out there, especially people who you may use muskets, who'll be like, please God, no, not fog, because then like my gameplay style is fucked. But a degree
that
of
would
sort
add
of rolling
add a
fog would
component
be
to it
interesting.
where hey, you might only be able to defend from close in.
Yeah.
Like that's fundamentally that's a pretty big difference in how you would play that match, and would add some variety to it.
Especially if there's a little bit of dynamicism, dynamic sort of feel to it. Like if it's not just like the match has started and it's foggy, it's going to be foggy for the entire match. Like if it changed, like sort of if it's possible to change like some aspects of that in, like, say, every like 15 or 20 minutes, that'll be interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff with Outpost Rush. Fundamentally, I think that this is going to be the real reason to get to max level. It's going to be fun. There's obviously exclusive gear and like cosmetic sets that are only accessible by playing Outpost Rush. So
that was one thing. That was the other thing that you said that I wanted to sort of say. I am actually kind of glad that this is a level 60, as far as we know, right? Like it's a level 60 thing, right? Because that means that you won't have the situation where sort of either relative new players come in and get completely torn apart by like veterans, or people playing sort of like a gear tier level, like one or maybe even two gear tier levels below like their opponents, which I mean, it's that kind of situation, you're gonna be at a fairly significant disadvantage. So I'm glad that to some degree you have a level set there to say you have to be at the highest, you have to have at least the ability to be able to use the highest gears, the highest tier gear set, and have enough attribute points around to be able to make it at least a competitive fight.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting mode. It's definitely going to add a lot to the game. I'm excited that we finally get to share this with you guys. Obviously, like with McLeod and I having been in the alpha, like there are things that we've been able to do, but that we have not been able to talk about. I'm
gonna be so tempted.
One of them, like
I'm gonna be so tempted to try and get to 60 by the end of the closed beta, just so we can play this like before the closed beta ends. But like, oh man, that'll be quite the grind to get to 60.
Oh yeah, that'll be a bit much.
And I do want to sort of enjoy the experience of playing the closed beta rather than just like heavy grinding all the way.
No more naked running to max level. Yep.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of grind. There's some creative ways to level now, in terms of like going and exploring and getting all of the points of interest, getting all of the journals, getting all of those things. I believe if you get like I want to say 50% of the journal pages, and you get all the points of interest, that's somewhere around like level 30 or something like that. Like, there's a decent amount of XP in those. It could change, so like I don't want to be tied to saying that, but like there's a lot of XP involved in like the variety of different things that you're gonna do. But always be watching like how much XP something's actually giving you. Because certain things are going to be worth more than other things. Certain things may reward you with items, but might not be as valuable XP wise. Those are things to look for. PvP. If you want to go super heavy on PvP, you can get a lot of XP doing PvP. But you need to get consistent fights. And you need to get consistent kills as well.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you need to get consistent kills against other people. Not just the same people over and over again. Do you think they'll make the map bigger in the future? The world seems smallish if the game becomes very successful. They do have plans to add more zones.
Yeah.
I've got a map
I do believe,
somewhere.
yeah, I do believe that the map is going to sort of slowly get larger. But the other kind of thing is like, you don't need to just have an endlessly, sprawling kind of map. Like you can add layers to that map, like depending on how you want to sort of develop the lore, develop the story of New World.
So this is a old map, but it is still very much relevant. There's been there's been a couple of zones added since this was made, but this was in the preview file, so we can talk about it. Roughly speaking, this is what the map looked like in the preview. It is not guaranteed that this is what will be there, later on. But fundamentally, the playable area, you can see, obviously certain areas don't have textured and stuff like that. So you can see kind of what's been worked on based on the preview.
So we've gotten Reekwater, which is the area that is at the bottom right hand side there. Yeah, that's Reekwater now, which we didn't have in the preview. And then the other kind of area on the left of Brightwood is
Ebenskill Reach.
Ebenskill. Yeah, I always forget the name of that one. Why?
Yep. I believe we have the map recorded in our expedition. So like we're not like releasing anything new about where these things are. Fundamentally like some of the stuff is different between this map and the other maps, but at the same time I didn't have and wasn't willing to put together this map based on the files that we had. Because that would go against the spirit of our testing or not our testing, but our experience in releasing the expedition content, because our video on that was basically around the expedition content. There was some peripheral stuff that we were able to do, but largely it was focused on that, so we didn't feel that it was something that we would be allowed to release if we had access to their map. That said, we know that there are certain other things that they are definitely going to add. Based on some of the stuff that they've done, it wouldn't surprise me if they added in some other cultures. Looking at a lot of the things that they've done recently, Ebenskill Reach being very Asia influenced. It wouldn't surprise me if we also saw Middle Eastern. We've seen in the past kind of a desert biome in some of their videos. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw an additional area for that. Long term, it wouldn't surprise me if there was multiple islands. And the other thing is this is not necessarily the full map. We might receive more than this. We might get boats. We might get other things.
This might be a minor island, of a larger island. Like you never know. Like we don't know. Like honestly.
Exactly. So there's a lot of opportunity in the game, and a lot of things that I think will potentially be added long term. When discussing mounts, in the preview, somebody ran from this top corner over here all the way down to this bottom corner in Cutlass Keys. It takes about 35 minutes. So that's not a short amount of time. And for anybody that understands mounts, like mounts at most are going to give you an extra 50% move speed. Like, so
Yeah.
you're going to do it in 20 minutes. Like, it's still not a short ride. Like,
the other thing is, like, it's not like you're like mashing W for 30 minutes to get down there. Like, you have auto run.
yes.
On them. You may not have auto pathing, like like some games do when it comes to sort of rogues and that kind of thing. But at least with the auto run there, like, all you have to do is basically every so often sort of adjust your direction with your mouse, and that's it. So, like, it's not punishingly bad in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. So some of the things that we still have in the cooker, and I know I've been talking about this for months, but this really is kind of a specific timing type event. We are hoping to have a developer on to discuss the creator program. That's still in the works. It's something we're hoping to have ironed out on an exact date on when that's going to happen. When it does happen, it'll happen live. It'll happen, just like all of our other shows, probably with a comical amount of audio issues and all that. And it'll be fun. But we'll give you guys the date on that when we know it. In the short term, I wanna again turn to say thank you to everybody who has been kind of helping us out, has been helping pay the bills. Believe it or not, it is not free to run a stream. It's free to run like an okay stream. It's not free to run one that actually requires some production. So in terms of Adobe Suite and a few other things that we have used for the stream, the subs, the bits, the follows, the ad revenue, our Patreons, all of that, it all matters, it all helps, and it's not the reason that we do this by any means. God knows, like, running a small stream is not a profitable thing by any stretch, but it is something that we're proud of. It is something that we're very happy to do, and obviously we pride ourselves in having quality information for everyone, and yeah. So with that, hey, thanks for the tier 1 sub.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, much appreciated. Will you be streaming gameplay once the game releases? Yes.
Oh,
we
hell
will definitely be.
Just know that.
Hey, thanks for the gifted subs.
Oh,
means a lot, guys.
That's why it's being an absolute.
In the beta, we'll actually be streaming most of the beta. It's gonna be a big one. We're looking forward to that. For those that don't know, we also have a Discord, and the reason that I push the Discord is I hit the wrong key.
I'll do that if you want.
Boom, there it is. So, multiple times. All right, so the reason we push the Discord itself has all of the art that has ever been released from New World, including stuff that is no longer available from the official sources, i.e. some of the original concept art, original concept video back from 2016. So when I say AGS occasionally gets a little bit of heartburn because of me, it's because I keep track of all of that kind of stuff, and I've got it.
It's also a classic example of, like, say for example this week, right? Classic example of why what we the automatic kind of capture stuff that we have on the Discord server is fantastic about is, you can go right now to the Discord server and see that tweet that AGS sent out that they retracted, and you can go and have a look at that tweet and then have a look at the images that they had in that tweet as well. Like, it's it's all part of like the service that we have on Discord as well. So,
Or if you want to get involved in the Reddit, we also have any new topic that pops on the Reddit also pops on here. Any new official YouTube video pops on here. Sometimes it can be pretty comical because they'll release like every language at one time. There'll be like 60 videos that get posted.
we also have community content,
Yes.
community creator content kind of stuff, like say things from well, I'm just gonna quickly go in here, like things from Studio Loot, for example, things from So Medieval, that kind of stuff. Like we have a stream that populates when they release videos as well, just because syndicating their stuff, basically stuff from people that we think is worthwhile and produces worthwhile content, is something that we believe in.
Absolutely. Additionally, we also have tech news and updates. So things like Linus Tech Tips, Gamers Nexus, any new videos from those kind of sources, we pull, and we do that because like we want to be kind of like a source for information, beyond beyond just New World, beyond just Amazon games, beyond all these things. We want you guys to find value there. And that's why
it's a good
created
talking point as well.
Yeah.
It's a good talking point for the Discord as well. Like if you want to come in and like talk tech, like we're totally cool with talking tech, especially if you want to talk about one of the videos that popped up on the tech news and updates kind of channel, for example. Like we generally tend to. I mean, I generally tend to watch most of them. I think Ace generally tends to watch most of them as well. So like
we also have an area for company recruitment ads. So if people want to spam that channel, we don't really monitor it at all. But I'm sure 90% of the people on there have just muted the channel and don't listen to it. But there is 400 some people in the server. So the more the merrier. If that's the only reason you want to be on the server, you're more than welcome to be there. The other things that we've got, variety of different channels. We just try and make it useful. We've got the art gallery on there. It's free to everyone. That took a lot of effort to get all of those images in one place and to get them sorted. I'd love to say that they're sorted perfectly, but that's not the case. But
thank God
generally
that
speaking,
is
they're in
in
a good condition.
Thank God that is in the cloud, because if you had to sort that out every single time that you had to change or update, like change your computer or update or reinstall Windows, I think you'd have probably killed yourself or somebody.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, with the sheer volume of times that I've had to reinstall Windows and that, yeah. Can you talk about drugs? No. There is actually a politics,
science and economics,
science and economics channel that, if we're talking about stuff in there, you can opt into those channels. We do ask, obviously, that those channels remain civil, and anybody who's unable to accomplish a civil discussion, as anybody who's seen r-New World game. I'm the first one to drop the hammer on people for not keeping it civil, and that's very much the case on our Discord. Be nice to each other. It's a good place to be. Post show, we're going to be in the public chat. We'll be more than willing to chat for a bit.
Even if it is for me 2 a.m, I'm still gonna chill out for another half hour or so in chat.
Yeah. So with that, again, I already thanked everybody. Can we chat PvP each other? In terms of here's my thing.
Yes.
Debate ideas, not people.
People. Yeah.
So like, if you can savagely beat somebody with logic, then I'm all for it. That said, beating them with logic and making personal attacks are two different things. So like, I'm all for like, I've destroyed you logically and I have debated you out of existence. Yeah. And I've done that before. I've got another server that I do a lot of politics stuff in. So
I think that's what Diatribal means.
yeah.
Or Robodog. Like maybe that's Robodog. Is that what you mean? Like
Alternatively, if you want to roleplay smashing people with a warhammer in chat, I'm good with that too.
Go for it.
We also have a pretty comical channel around memes. That's just kind of like an all-around humor channel that I think people would enjoy. That said, I am going to kind of wrap things up for the day. I'm going to say it again. Thank you, everybody, for the subs, for the gifted subs, for the bits, for the Patreon support. I believe we're just about at the point of like breaking even with our Adobe subscription. So like I'm really thrilled about that, and like, you know, hey, thanks for the Prime sub. You know,
we even had our affiliates kind of our affiliates sort of we were on a sort of trial for our affiliates, and that's completed, and so we're 100% Amazon affiliates now as well, so we can start actually making, I think we can start making international affiliate links as well, because in the trial
we're definitely going to start figuring out our international links. For those that don't know what Amazon affiliate is,
thank you very much, Lindsay Lee.
Amazon affiliate is basically, we've got certain links like below the stream. You'll see a link that links to, you know, pre-order New World. If you click that link and then buy anything in the next 72 hours, we actually get a small portion of whatever is purchased. So it's kind of like a referring traffic bonus. We don't know who purchases what or anything like that, but at the same time, like, it doesn't cost you anymore. Oh god!
you gotta.
Oh god! We're playing Star Citizen in the background. So, as a side note, for those that don't know, in the last few weeks, I have been kind of playing. I've been actually getting into Star Citizen because on a prior show, I ripped into Star Citizen. And,
I've ripped in Star Citizen myself as well. So,
yeah,
you know,
I ripped in a new one. Like, fundamentally,
I've referred to it as Scam Citizen. You know,
yeah.
I've referred to it as Vaporware before as well. Yeah.
In the last 3 weeks, I have gone full circle. Fundamentally, I know that it's not going to come out for a while, but I can see the vision. I can see where it's going. I can see the end goal, and I get it. And yeah, so it would not surprise me if we had some Star Citizen content hit the channel. I've got one of the bigger ships, so there's some fun to be had with that.
I was thinking about getting it. Yeah, actually, I probably will end up getting a starter kind of not subscription, but a starter pack from that at some point soon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in terms of other MMOs, like I know Ace and myself have played EVE Online. That's where sort of we know each other from. Ace, have you played any other? Have you played other MMOs? I think you played more MMOs than like just general MMOs than I have. Like my sort of gaming background was much more predominantly sort of around FPSs and that kind of thing. I know you also played FPSs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but like,
I played a lot of FPSs. I've played WoW.
I need to round out.
Played ESO. I've played BDO. I've played a number of different games. But yeah,
I need to round out my my MMO sort of like experience and such. But like
the one that I'm really looking forward to. I got a chance to play in. I got a chance at some point in time. I've got to be very nondescript here. To experience Lost Ark. And to be fair, the game has been out for 2 years in other markets. I'm very much looking forward to that game coming out, and it was an incredible surprise to hear that Amazon had partnered with Smilegate to release that in the US. For those that don't know, Lost Ark is a free-to-play game. I did not know that, and I bought a $100 Platinum Founder Pack. You know, so just putting that out there. That said, I'm also very happy after kind of looking into it on what that got me. Because it's free to play, obviously there are other kind of microtransactions that help support it, and all of these other things. It is being brought in by Amazon Game Studio in partnership with Smilegate, so that's another one that we're looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Lost Ark does have a kind of a sort of a WoW sort of feel to it with regards to sort of like screen clutter and that kind of thing. Like, I do
don't
understand
know
where
about
you're coming
WoW,
from,
but I
Slow
think
Tango.
more of like a Diablo. You know, it's your
yeah,
classic like dungeon crawler with a bunch of stuff and crazy animations and awesome
particle effects
spells
everywhere.
and it really is fun. There's a lot of like higher end modes, like for instance a 16-person epic raid against massive amounts of NPCs and colossal bosses with awesome abilities and all that. Like
It's your classic sort of Asian styled MMO where it's you against a billion sort of enemies and things larger than the size of a small skyscraper that you cleave in half kind of thing, like that usual kind of thing, that the usual sort of thing that makes you feel epic and ridiculously powerful. They like that stuff.
So
it's catching on in the West as well, so that's all good.
Yes. So with all that,
like
let's shift this discussion to the public chat for the Discord. We'll be in there just after the show ends, and we'll be more than happy to chat with you guys for a while. I'm looking forward to it. With that, we'll see you guys in the new world.
See ya.